Live, 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 live. Hang on 2 seconds, everybody. We gotta let it kick into gear and then I can go. Hang on 1 sec. I gotta move a link. Always gotta move a link. It's not there yet. It's like, where's my link? Always gotta move my link. It takes a sec. Come on. You're still not there. Are we up? Are we up? Are we up? It says live. Oh, 33 seconds. It takes about a minute for everything to kick into where I need it. All right, let's do it there. Did you link? No, you haven't linked yet. Oh, there we go. Crazy. All righty. Okay, that's done. That's done. That's done. That's done. Now I need to do music, and we're ready to roll. Welcome to the Everyday Sniper. You got Frank at Sniper's Hide, and happy Sunday morning. Good coffee to y'all. Got up nice and fresh this morning. We got guys online. So for the Everyday Sniper people, I've been really bad. I haven't posted because we kind of been going into this weird place, and then the last one got screwed up with the audio with the echo sound. And so I wanted to do an Everyday Sniper podcast, record it for you guys and get going. And so happy Sunday morning. As I said, for you podcast guys, I am transitioning to the lives. We're doing more lives. We're online on the Hide. We're online on Facebook, X, YouTube, all those places. Simulcast. We are simulcasting. Morning, Andrew. And you'll notice that we're talking with people. We have Q&As going back and forth. And so it's easy to grab the audio for the Everyday Sniper guys, but it's better with the visuals. Cause like when I do this with Chris, he always has props. He always is drawing something and doing something. So the lives are evergreen in a lot of ways. You can go back and watch them. But thanks everybody for popping on. We usually have a nice little crew that comes and sees us. I want to talk my coffee for a minute. So I'm like, I need my coffee more or less fresh, right? So I got spoiled. I had this grind your own coffee. It made foam. Everything was great. And then the grinder part stopped working. It was gummed up. I took it apart, cleaned it, couldn't get that to work. And it was annoying. I'm like, man, I love this coffee, the way it makes it, the whole thing, and then the machine didn't work. So then you start chasing machines. Man, they got coffee machines that are like 3 grand that make a single cup of coffee. I'm like, no. So I have a Keurig, of course. You throw cup out the door. I ordered and I ended up doing an old school, very small, old, like $30, I don't even know, espresso machine. So now I'm a two-part coffee guy. I put my Keurig in under specialty and I only do like 4 ounces of the Keurig. Then I do a double shot of my espresso and I put that in. So every morning now I end up doing this like 5-minute coffee thing instead of just grabbing a cup of coffee. So I'm like thinking about the ridiculousness of my coffee, but I like love I mean, in the morning, I'm not drinking as much coffee, but I like my coffee in the morning. And Laura and all them got me these cups that keep it warm. These are electronic cups and everything. You can even hook up, they're apped. You can hook them up to your app and all that. So, crazy. And then yesterday, so it's happy race day one. So happy race day to everybody. You got the race. Where are they? They Dover. Oh, you know what? They're at Dover this weekend. Again, Sunday morning. Welcome to the Everyday Sniper podcast, everybody. I'll get to guns in a minute. But Dover, I went and saw Earnhardt beat Mark Martin in 1989 with my buddy Ted at Dover. We slept in the car morning. We slept in the car in the parking lot at Dover. I forgot even how we got tickets, but we drove down from Connecticut, parking lot of Dover, slept there, watched the Dover race, saw Earnhardt, great battle with Mark Martin and eventually beating Mark Martin. Really fantastic. And so I'm reminded of that because it's Dover weekend. So uh funny, we were watching during the week overnight, we've been watching Larson at the dirt races, flow racing, and then they did Larson bought high limit racing, right? And should be a clue to certain people that I won't mention, but it's funny how idiots can't do stuff right and we're the rock stars and then they go nowhere. Larson a year ago bought high limit racing and he's partnered with Flow Racing, which is a broadcaster, and then they partnered this week with FS1. So we would watch the Larson Sprint Cup races or sprint car races on Flow and just beam it to the TV, watch it. Everything's great. Yeah, they were right. They did. They got a lot of damage. So he's talking about watching guys. Three guys got hurt. Brad Sweet, Larson's brother-in-law, got hurt. But yeah, so we're watching that and watching his progression of taking from this sprint car series to a television and FS1 and seeing how he's doing it is very illuminating. Like I said, there's a lot of things that could be modeled. Archery is a great model out there. If you look at Archery USA and what they do, there are successful models on how to bring something more into the mainstream. I originally was trying that with like the Scout because that was owned by Fox, but then everybody rebelled against me and didn't want to know anything. But I was at the time trying to move our content into something that was Fox Sport affiliated. Now that all blew up on their end, and then CBS bought it. The hedge fund guys ran it into the dirt, but the model and when you look at these hedge fund guys and when you look at these people and they sit down and talk to you and they say, "Here's a model," it's worth listening to and looking at some of that stuff. But yeah, we had a great time and Larson got in a fight with this gravel guy. It was hysterical. He wanted podium. So there's World of Outlaw and then there's High Limit. And he's High Limit and he was running a World of Outlaw. Well, he wanted the race to be 1-2 High Limit. So he pulled this like cut off move on this guy and the dude tries to fight. So there was all this like online drama because you had this lower tier sprint car guy trying to fight with Kyle Larson and Larson's just laughing. And so, yeah, gravel is a punk, man. Total punk. We've been posting memes. I didn't want to say anything, but totally, gravel is a punk, man. See, and this is the beauty of the lives, guys, listening to the Everyday Sniper podcast, the ones that are online. We're interacting, we're laughing. You know what I mean? Here, Scar went and watched the Ohio races, and he's watching it. And yeah, this week, man, the fights and the stuff, and Larson got new teeth. Did you notice Larson's teeth are new? And we pretty much think it's a recent. I should do mine. Mine are broken the bottom and all fucked up. But Larson got new teeth. And it's pretty funny because it's changed his smile and it's changed the way he talks a little bit. So it's funny to watch Larson, and he was snickering with his new teeth, kind of laughing at gravel. He's like, "Well, I think he's my friend, but maybe not." But yeah, Larson was pretty funny this weekend. Um, just kind of making fun of that and then, good racing. It's good stuff. They're fast, they're active, they set up quick and it's fun to watch. Although there were a lot of wrecks. They wrecked a lot of cars this week. Some guys got hurt. It was you know, oh, and the guy talking is going to be in our Ohio class. Speaking of classes, it's a good segue. I appreciate that. So we're corresponding online, and he's coming to the Ohio class. And so Laura says he looks like Ross Chastain. So the Watermelon Man will give him a nickname when we get there. But speaking of classes, I'm using the high TV better and we're finding out the features and the functions. And so this weekend coming up, so a week from today, week next weekend, we will be in Nebraska. We're doing the Nebraska class. So we'll be at Jake McDaniel's place, J&M Precision. And the system now, I'm getting better with it, allows us to post the class. If you're interested in the Nebraska class, if you're interested in the Colorado class, you can just sign up and come. The tickets are on the front page of High TV as well. So we're going to be in Nebraska. If you Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. The classes are fun. He's saying how he's a repeat student, and we like repeat students. We see a lot of repeat students on the East Coast because they don't have as many choices. Now, there's more choices today than there's ever been, but a lot of those choices don't kind of address things the way some people want. But yeah, we see a lot of repeat guys on the East Coast, so for sure. But Nebraska's this weekend. We will be in Nebraska doing that class. We could take people, so that's no problem. Iowa, we just did Iowa. We already did finished Iowa. Iowa was last month. We did Iowa early before the corn got high. And my daughter calls, right? And she never pays attention and she's horse showing. So my daughter's horse showing this weekend. She's doing dressage now. So she jumps. She's an eventer and she jumps and does that, but then she's slipped into dressage and she's doing dressage now. So she got reserve champion and she's doing something else with her so she came in second with her dressage. So she's trying to call me a gazillion times and I got to tell her just to she's she'll keep calling and calling and calling because she's excited that she did her freestyle for dressage was Star Wars, and she did like a Star Wars thing. And so yeah, so she's doing this weekend, she's at rack doing their dressage. She's funny, she's a competitive animal. You know, she's pretty competitive. I don't have that competitive drive anymore. They've kind of burned it out of me a little bit, but yeah, she's a competitive animal, man. She does her horse show stuff and she chases it down pretty hard. But Nebraska's this weekend. We can right after Nebraska, we have Colorado. I think Chris will be popping into the Colorado class. It is a Mark class. He's usually there, you know, when if he's not bringing kids or shuffling anything, he's usually at the class. So we'll be doing a Fort Morgan class and a Nebraska Imperial class in the next 2 weeks. And like I said, those you can sign up on the Hide as well. We're getting ready, and Chris and I talked about this. I'm going to do classes and lessons online and testing it. The first one, I have it up on Sniper's Hide. I'm going to do a Friday night talk to you like this whiteboard lessons, and you'll get the meat and potatoes of the class. I will give you all the text and the literature. We'll do what we have to do. So I'm going to do a Friday night $99 online webinar. Then Saturday morning, I'm going to do it on a webinar at the range. So you'll be able to talk to me, shoot, and do all this. And so we're going to do a two-part class to test it for Chris and I because we're going to do the same thing for Chris. We're going to have a craft win at night lesson to give you the mechanics, to give you the theory behind it. And then the next day we'll be at the range putting it into practice. And we can say we're doing A, B, and C. And so I'm doing that. It's on the Hide. It's at the top of the page for events. You can sign up for that. So that's to test the system, make sure everything works, but I'll be able to give you my presentation. I'm doing the fundamentals. I will talk fundamentals in the prone and then transitioning your fundamentals to alternate positions to a tripod. Then the next day, we'll go over those fundamentals and show tips and tricks and things online on the range through the high TV system. That will then be leading up to a Chris Wind class, Craft Wind, which will be a little bit more detailed and will be similar format. I'm testing the format. So that's what I'm going to be doing in a month or so. We'll do it online like this, except we'll be at the board. I was even just looking while multi-camera angles. We'll make it look good. And so then to make sure all is well and good, I'm going to test the system out at the range again. We know the Starlink works. We just have to make sure because some of these systems change. Um, and I want to make sure I won't get kicked offline having a gun in my hand and educating you. Yeah. So Scar says he used gravity ballistics. Um, yeah, it's and what I'm trying to do is I want to no, it's $99 for the Friday night lesson, and then it's 150 for the daytime lesson because I'll be doing Q&A and longer at the range. So it's 250 total, but it's $99 for the instructional lesson, like this. And then I'm doing it a little bit more just to test it out at the range. It's going to be logistically, it's going to be a little tougher. Um, yeah, the app is already out. He's looking for the release date. The only thing I have to do is the instructions. So I'm going to supply them text today or tomorrow because I need the instructions. One of the things with to get the app to work a gun number wise, our clock system is a decimal system. So it's 12, it's not 12, 12:15, 12:30, 12:45. It's 12.1 to 10 with 12:30 being point 0.5. So the clock system we need to write this down. So the question comes in about gravity ballistics. We're ready to release it with the craft wind, but there's a question and there's a instructions, and you can access the instructions in any time there's a question mark, and that opens the instructions. For gravity ballistics, it's just shoot, read your data, multiply it, and move on. But there's a couple little nuances in gravity ballistics with craft wind. The nuance is in the clock angle. Instead of breaking up 12 to 1 o'clock in 15 minute, it's tenths. So it's point 0.1 to point 0.9, and then 1 o'clock is 10, right? So when you're doing the clock system, we have to explain to you a 12:30 is 12.5. And that's the way that allows the wind to work correctly and to make it break it up finite for the clock angle. Because with Chris's wind, clock angle does have a good effect. And so, in order to get the clock angle to work the way we needed it to, it's intense. So, very simple. And so, I have to do the instructions. The app is done. I'm using it. It's finished. The only thing not done is the instructions. And so I kind of there's it's I get all pushy with things, and Chris is up in the mountains and I'll taking a break because I'll be a tyrant at times and be like, work, you got to work, and he needs a day off from Frank being a pain in the butt. But it is done. It is ready. Everything's working the way it should. It's been cleaned up and streamlined. I like the data card better. And then it's simplistic in its use. It's either a clock system or a true 360 a degree. And so I'm hoping I can put it out in the next 7 to 10 days at the most. And for them, it's just add the add the instructions and then hit live. And then everybody will get it. But you can download it. I mean, the cheat for people watching, it's gonna be a free update. If you wait to download it with Craft Wind, it's gonna be $10. If you download it right now, it's $5 with a free update. So, kind of like saying, "Hey, everybody, I'm giving you a break because you're listening to me." And so the app, and honestly, there's nothing better. There really isn't. And just taking the data after the fact. I mean, in a with gravity ballistics, it's a minimal amount of rounds. You could start at 200 if you have access and you want to do 200. You can go to 3. I think 3 is the easy place to start because 2's the same for almost everything. 2's where you shoot groups. And so that's not the problem. And then 3 is a good starting point. You could put a variety of plates. You're not killing the plate as bad when you're shooting it at 3. It doesn't wreck them as it does at 2. Then from there it runs. And it's so easy because 3 is a variation of 1. If you're an MOA guy, then you're doing your 4 3s or whatever it is. Or 3 4s rather. I'm backwards. I went backwards. But 3.5 MOA. But 1 is an easy number to start and it gets you rolling. It's easy to find the shot. It's easy to, I mean, I've even done it. Go to anecdotal stories, talking Alaska in the past. The first year we were in Alaska, there was these guys and we had the open shoot. Like, we give you an hour at the last day to shoot whatever you want without somebody telling you what you have to do. And these guys broke out a scar. And it was like 2 guys, monkeys fucking a football with this scar. And, I didn't say like I did the scar stuff with seals and a whole shitload of them came down to rifles only. And we tested every scar for a week with them. So I'm like, what are you guys doing with all these switches and levers? Oh, we're trying to get it zeroed up. I zeroed it in like 3 rounds because I just did it at 300 yards. It's like 300 yards, zero it to that location, and then just reset the turret to your 1, whatever. It's pretty close, 1.3. But if you just shoot a plate at 300, reset your turret to 1, and then go bring it to 0, go to 100, you're going to be within, your location. So 3 is a good number to start gravity ballistics. The wind's kicking in, all these feet, things are coming. But yeah, I'm I'm excited. I even said to Chris, like I didn't know Chris was away. I said, "Hey, get me your data, your instructions for the app." And he's like, "Oh, I'm up in the mountains, hiking with the dog and everything." And I said, "Oh, okay, but I'm like ready to roll because the app is done." Um, yeah, the funny thing? So guy comes up with, Strelock. Strelock was always the app a lot of new shooters bought, and it's Russian based, and so they had yanked Strelock off the internet, off the app stores because it's Russian. I mean, it's just a Russian writer. I mean, they're very good, and it's just like buying a Romanian and guy to do code or an Indian to do code. They, Russians, Romanians, Bulgarians, they all do a lot of code. So, um, they yanked Strelock. Well, I'm with the app and testing. I brought the wind zones out, and I have the wind zone meters, the wind meters, the impellerless. Like Eric Cortina's talked about wind zone. I got it through him. I met the guy through Eric Cortina, and so the wind zones, I put them out, and they use an Android tablet. Well, I recharged my tablet, and I don't use it. It's just was sitting there waiting for that to work. And I'm like, "Oh, let me get this." And I opened it up and charged it. I had Strelock on it. I was like, "Oh shoot, Strelock is on my tablet." I'm like, "Don't update it, don't nothing. Like, wall it off from the internet." So I have Strelock on still, so it's pretty neat. But Yes, Gravity Ballistics for you guys out there in the podcast world, you download it. It is the best way to dope a rifle, period. End of discussion. Then you're going to take that pre true data and you're going to put that into your solver that you'll travel with, your Garmin watch, your Kestrel, right? Your lasers, anything that is holding your software that then moves from location to location. You're going to use the gravity ballistics data to feed those apps and then use those apps, worry free is really what's going on. And then I honestly would be using the gravity ballistics for the wind because the way we do wind is so fundamentally different from the apps that I believe our wind is better. I true wind. Like if I'm using AB and I definitely tell you to be in the AB hang on. Guy's asking question. Sorry. So yes, I get it. He keeps asking us. It's not in Italy. I will make sure they put it in Italy and they hit the main Europeans. He's saying gravity ballistics wasn't in Italy. I, yeah, I don't know that because these app store stuff they're very fickle with certain countries. So you have to be careful that who knows? Italy may have turned around and said guns in America are bad. I don't know, but he's asking. Francesco keeps asking about Italy. Lost me how? I don't understand. So yeah, sorry. Yeah. So anyway, I'm answering a question on the app. So sorry that I got confused. I don't know. Mind vault lost me how? Again, the text. You guys are texting me saying lost you. Does that mean my signal dropped? Does that mean you don't understand what I'm saying? Does that mean you're not sure? I don't. No, it'll be an automatic update. If you download the app right now, if you have Gravity Ballistics and you download the app now, when we update it for Craft Wind, it'll be an auto free update. It'll automatically update. It won't be uninstall and reinstall. It'll just do it. So what I'm telling you guys listening to me, if you don't have the Gravity Ballistics app now, download it now and you'll save $5 and get a free update when it's updated. It'll just auto update. It'll just be a new push will go out. It's very subtle. I mean, I just cleaned up the right? So I cleaned up the range card. I made this cleaner and then it's got the dope and then when you do the set wind, it's super clean and comes right up. And so that's how your set wind goes. And I just, all it'll do, it'll add that set wind button. It'll clean up a column in your range card. And then the set wind pops right up. And then the only other thing that it adds in your profile, you have a gun number now. It's the only thing in this profile that is used is the gun number. The profile is just a reference for you to say, this gun, this bullet, this time. And like I said, I've been using that profile to put some information in there, like your BC, because that controls your gun number. The first number of the G1 BC is your gun number. That first number then goes into the gun number on the app. That's the only way that profile works, other than it's Dewey Decimal. It's a card. You're going to pull a card out and say, here's my 6.5 PRC at 5,000 DA with a 143 grain bullet, and then that's going to be that. But like you understand, this has unlimited tracks. There's no limit to how many guns and ammo combinations you could put in here. This works offline. I could be in airplane mode and all the features are going to work. So that means if I'm out in the middle of nowhere and I don't want a signal going out, I can go into airplane mode and my phone will still give me data. There's all these little things that will do that a lot of other apps don't do. However, a lot of other apps are much more robust in some levels. They are doing weather, they're looking at when you change elevations, they look at all these things. So, like a Kestrel, I'm a big proponent, my Garmin as well. Kestrels and Garmins I use all the time when I use them, right? I feed them gravity ballistics data. Then that track to me is better. Like the experiment Chris did, Chris doped a lot he got from Amar in California, trace ammo. He got 6 dasher ammo. So then he doped, dasher, damn it, 6 ammo. So then he doped the dasher with gravity ballistics. He took those numbers and he marked his turret with them. Then, as the conditions changed a bit, he's come out and he's checked it. In my mind, the way I push gravity ballistics, a water line on the target, right? That in itself. I was yesterday, I was posting some old images to X, and I was in my Lightroom. And so I'm looking through old images and I was looking at an old target, a bunch of them. I have a ton of pictures of plates shot up, right? There's probably 1,000 pictures in my Lightroom of, and so what it is I'm looking at the shot patterns on these plates and they're wide and spread out. Plate is completely shot up from the head to the tail. I'm like, damn, look at these plates. Then I'm like looking at all the plates today. They're all these super tight groups. And it's not this scattering of hits. They're strung with wind, like us fighting wind or playing wind. You'll see. But like the bottom third in the head gets hit because of high, and I'm a high chest guy. When I shoot something, I'm always like, even my water lines are a bit more high chest than they are center belly, sternum or whatever you want to call it, solar plexus. And so I'm a little bit more high chest with my water lines. And so when I am high or I miss, I'll hit a head. But you'll almost always see the bottom third of the plate is clean. And to me, that's interesting, that looking at the shot patterns on plates and how it's changed over the years. I mean, I have it's not a time capsule, but it's a history book of shooting from the early 2000s up because I took pictures of everything. If I go to Wheat Ridge and I go find them, I was lucky enough, like, even when drives changed, like, I had zip files and different things, and the drives changed over the year. For the most part, a lot of my images are on hard drives, and I would keep the hard drives and throw away the casing. Like, okay, this isn't used anymore. We don't operate like this. Okay, that hard drive is then going to put away. So I have photographs like from day one at Rifles Only. I always, always carried a camera at Rifles Only. So I have a time capsule of all of this stuff over the years. And it's kind of crazy photographically how things have changed from outfits to rigs to everything. What I got a question here. What's your thoughts on a balance between a heavy rifle that's easy to shoot well versus a light? Chris is just doing that. So the question comes in for you podcast people. Question comes in about heavy versus light. And the 25 Creedmoor is giving us this opportunity. So like Chris put the trigger cam on and he's taking video through, like, his 6 dasher is 18 pounds. The 25 Creedmoor right now is 16 pounds. He's got an ultralight XLR chassis that we're going to put the 25 Creedmoor in and video through the trigger cams to show you. There is in my mind, so the question is about is about weight and recoil. In my mind, it's balance. Taking that light rifle and balancing it kind of creates a better recoil pulse where you're kind of manipulating the weight to work better than just saying super light rifle, let's shoot it. In the heavy rifles, of course, weight is stability. Weight is going to give you that added edge, which is why they do 20-pound rifles. You know what I mean? And they're putting them on sandbags with a flat bottom to sink them into uh, into the sand. And they chase sand and fill because they want the rifle to sink in a specific way, right? If you look at the fills, the sands, they chase that every bit as anything else. And that's because it's how that rifle settles, how that rifle recoils on that fill. So consider that same thing with your rifle system, light versus heavy. I even went this one is 16 and I have like the tac ops that I have are lighter. I actually shoot a lighter rifle a little bit better depending on the caliber and how I set it up, because I always carried a lighter rifle in the past. For me being small, it's momentum. I get tipped over by the momentum of a heavy rifle. It's long and I'm swinging it. So I have to be very center line and very aware of how my light rifle shoots. Now, I had the 6.5 PRC in March in Cameo. I want to say I was 12 pounds for my 6.5 PRC. I put the most effective brake I can find or in my arsenal on there. At the time, it was an MDT 4 chamber with the ports on the top that you can adjust. So it's more of an old style MDT brake. How it's braked, how it's balanced, that makes a big difference. Then the support you're using, because it's going to bounce off of whatever you're supporting it with, it's going to move. And when it moves one way, it's going to ricochet off the other. And so that becomes the question of where that is going to be. Uh and so yeah, that's what it is. It's there's a lot of things that go into a heavy versus light. Just know weight is stability. Weight is always going to be your friend. You're going to hide and mask a lot of errors. I mean, if I take a 20-pound rifle with an 8-ounce trigger, I can do all kinds of silly shit with my trigger finger, and I'm probably not going to have a penalty. Now, if the sound and the recoil makes my body move, not just my finger, well, then I'm going to have a bigger penalty because now I'm pushing the rifle and moving it around. But if I'm disconnected from a 20-pound rifle and the only point of contact really is my finger on an 8-ounce trigger, there's no penalty. You're letting the rifle do the work. It's not necessarily free recoil. I call it managed recoil, but you can manage that recoil to the point where you're letting the rifle do a lot of the work and setting it up so the recoil is as straight as possible and as short as possible. So that's my spiel on heavy versus light rifle. Lead Slinger, I saw it. We're hoping for the next 10 days for the app release. So we're hoping 10 days. I just have to put the instructions. The app is finished. It's the instructions because there's some nuances to putting the number in. We want it correct. And so we have to do some instructions so people understand it's not 1230, it's 12.5. It's not, 1215, It's 12.3, things like that. So that's where the app is and things like that. But yeah, I mean, we just like, there's some videos, and I filmed everything with the 25 Creedmoor. I'm waiting for Chris because we put a trigger cam on it as well, but Chris has all the trigger cam footage. So I don't have any trigger cam footage until he uploads it to our platform. And then I'll start trickling out the 25 Creedmoor stuff in through the 25 Creedmoor, because it is an NRL hunter based platform that we're looking at. Weight is a factor. And so we are looking at the difference weights. We are looking at in this chassis versus that chassis. Weighted this way, like that Vision chassis, the 25 Creedmoor is currently in. I only have one weight up in the front, and I'm right at the 16-pound limit. I could take that one weight out and drop it down. I have that extra riser on there, which isn't a lot, but it does throw something on. So there's an Area 419, there's a riser, there's some extra pieces currently, how the 25 Creedmoor sits in the Vision, that can be removed, and I'd probably end up saving a pound and a half. And I'm right around 16 right now. Now, the key, and I'll say this with that rifle, it's a soulless barreled action. The mass on the barrel is such that with that weight forward, with that truck axle barrel, it's meant to front load everything and sink it into the bags, right? I would rather use a tripod in some ways, but it's front heavy. But those heavier contour barrels do a lot to balance that weight, and then you got to kind of get it to tip right, so you're looking for that one little, just so it's not front heavy. But front heavy in certain calibers is what keeps the nose down, right? We don't want the nose to lift, we don't want the rifle to rise and loop on recoil. We need that recoil to be perfectly straight. If you're doping it in the prone and then going alternate, and your recoil pulse is different and it's a loop, you're going to shoot high. And so that's what happens, is people will shoot over the plate, they'll shoot over the edge or just off the sides, and they'll end up shooting a little high. And so being front heavy tends to keep their nose down. But the thing is you don't want the rifle to slip under your shoulder. You don't want it to go down under the shoulder, and you don't want it to drop on recoil and dip down. So that becomes a key element when you're doing that. So yeah. Hey, you everyday guys, how you doing out there? I'm still with you. I'm listening. I got my coffee. Like I said, the lives are kind of weird at. We're doing Q&A at times, and we're able to answer guys' questions in real time and bring you that data. But for the everyday sniper people, we are here for you. As I said, 3 platforms. We got a nice crew of people out there, nice group online. So I appreciate you guys all joining us on a Sunday morning. Race day, as we said earlier in the broadcast. We were talking about the Gravity Ballistics app a little bit earlier. The update is coming. The update will be an automatic free update for those who already own the Gravity Ballistics app. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, hint, hint, right? So you can get a free update. It will be an automatic update, and I'm hoping in the next 10 days. The app is 100% done. The only thing we're left doing are the instructions. So, like I said, there's some specific instructions, mainly with the clock angle of the wind. Everything else is straightforward. All you're doing is you're putting in a degree or a clock angle, but the clock angle is a decimal point, not, a time. And then that's it. That's really all you need to know. Is you need to figure out the wind speed, find the wind speed, the clock angle, and then your gun number. So you need to understand your gun number, first number of your G1BC, Some ammo is on the box, right? From there, you need to know the clock angle in a decimal between point 0.1 and point 0.9, and then you need the wind speed. And so those are your three elements that you need for craft wind to work, and then it will operate independently in just pure wind. It's not being factored by any of these other things that we're doing. So hopefully that answers the questions for that. Like I said, we are on the high TV. We knocked out a lot of video. We spent 6 hours at the range the other day when Chris's live was echoing on Wednesday. We were smoked, and so we spent so much, and I filmed a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm gonna go back, and I brought this. This is I feel like a broken record here, but it's like, okay, I'm doing the 25 Creed. We didn't chronograph. We didn't do anything with the 25 Creedmoor. We opened the box. We loaded the ammo. We put 1 mil on a scope. We zeroed it, right? Don't get me wrong. We zeroed it at 100. Opened the box. We zeroed it at 100. No chronograph. We then put 1 mil on the gun, shot at 300, and then gravity ballistics from there. And the numbers are solid. Like, it lines up with everything. And I'm looking at it like, okay, it's a 134 grain bullet. And we're just going to, I know it's roughly 2850. It's a 134 grain bullet going 2850. And a lot of these guys are crowing, this is the sweet spot. Eh, but that's where we've always been with every but you wanted like the 136. I've always mentioned the 136 in the 6.5 Creed. I crowed about Sacco's TRG ammo, loaded the 136, 2850. And so I'm like I understand a 6 millimeter going 2850. But then if you're getting a 134 at 2850, why is that any different from a 136 at 2850? I mean, I guess it's the rules and the power factor, maybe. I don't know the math. I have to look at the math. If I take too many math numbers in my head, so you guys can maybe help me out here. Um, I don't know and do the power factor stuff in my head for NRL Hunter. But why would a 25 at 134 at 2850 be a sweet spot, but a 136 at 2850 isn't? I have them, and I'm actually gonna break out my 260s. I think I'm gonna bust out my 260s because I have a bunch of ammo. I don't know why I bought it. I did. I go on SG Ammo all the time, and just before Colorado put in their excise tax, I ordered a bunch of ammo. And at the time, I thought I had ordered 6 ARC because I knew I was doing the 6 ARC project. And I never opened up the case until all the 6 ARC stuff came in because I thought, oh, that's 6 ARC. It was all 260, 130 grain 260. And I love the 130. I love the 136. I've mentioned pushing the 140 classes is tough for a lot of people to where it works correctly. 2750 is not the answer. And so yeah, it's kind of crazy. I got to look at these numbers, and now that I'm caught up, I'm going to break out my 260. And I have the other terminus with the proof, the light terminus that I was gonna like the 100. We're doing the 100 grain Hornady with the 6.5 Creed. I want to go back to the 136 6.5 Creed. And I want to start looking at that alongside the 25 Creedmoor. I know nobody's going to jump back, but it might be a way for people who have that 6.5 Creedmoor that thought they would solve a problem, who now feel they're back outside looking in. And me, because I don't understand the hesitation to change loads. Like, if you got a 6 Creedmoor, why not just download it? Yeah, and it is, and that's why I look. Oh, hang on, I got another Ruben. What is Ruben saying? Good morning, Ruben. We enjoy your podcast. My grandson and I chatted with you at the brawl. Oh, nice. Hello from South Texas. Hope to see you guys in November. We'll be down. I'm going to be talking about that. The Sniper's Hide Cup. Jacob's coming on. Jacob and I had a very long conversation about the cup yesterday, and I've been remiss and haven't been talking about it. But the Sniper's Hide Cup is going on in November 8th weekend, November 10th weekend at Rifles Only. We're doing a lot of old school stuff, and we're also getting a lot of older shooters who had been to the cup previously. And Jacob was talking to me yesterday about it, and we're gonna give preference to people who had shot the cup in the past. And so that's gonna go live. We're gonna have a conversation about that this week. But the Sniper's Hide Cup registration's probably gonna go live August 1st at Rifles Only. We already know it's full, and we're gonna limit it to 100 people unless, sprinkles of past shooters. But, there is going to be, like, "Hey, I shot the cup in 2007. Yeah, I remember you. You're coming." We're gonna unashamedly tell you, you have preferential treatment. So, the Sniper's Hide Cup, the final one, is going to be at Rifles Only November 8th weekend, that whole week there. I'm going to do a nice t-shirts. We're going to do some food. We're going to say goodbye to everybody and thank you from me to the shooting community, to the Sniper's Hide Cup people for 20 years of its 20 plus years. The Sniper's Hide Cup had been going on for so long. It started at Rifles Only. We're going to end it at Rifles Only. It's the longest running match because even though you hadn't seen it, it was in Colville. We were doing it, the Sniper's Hide Cup up in Colville as part of the RTC. So it continued to go even though you didn't see it with Jacob or anything. So yeah, it's the final cup, Jake. We're doing it at Rifles Only. I've been very quiet about it because, perfectly honest, why I kind of shut my mouth is because I had a really negative interaction with the new PRS people. I think they're absolute idiots, and I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. And so I didn't. I had one ask. I was gonna sponsor a team. I was gonna go up and I was like, "Hey, man," I'm like, "My only thing is I don't want anybody who is affiliated to Sniper's High to be treated in a negative way." And they laugh. They're like, "Yeah, whatever." And it's like, that gave me no. And then it was, they do a lot to put things around my events to dilute them. And so I just been really quiet and just letting the network of people who know. But yeah, because I had such a negative interaction with them, and I think they're absolute idiots, and any I don't want anything coming out of my mouth that heads in their direction anymore. And even, I'm gonna give you a secret. So people always used to say I was the complaint department because they shut people down who had complaints. If you went to a match in state A and something negative happened, and then you went to command over to B and said, "Hey, I got a problem," they would say, "That's not our problem. That's the match director's problem." Then you go back to the match director, and the match director says, "That's not my problem. Match is over, go away." And then nothing gets solved. And so people would call me up, and I would become the complaint department. I I would say things and poke them because I felt there was value there, and there was, you could redeem some of these issues. Hey, there's value in that, what they're doing. There's this, maybe they'll get the hint and they'll change a couple things for the better. Nah, not anymore. You know, um, you know, you reach out when you need help. Sometimes you fail. Oh, I don't know what that means, but yeah. So anyway, um, I have no faith in them anymore. I think they're absolute idiots, and they don't know the industry. They don't know guns. They don't know a lot of things. They have a microscopic view. For them, might be a week long. But even, one of the funny things, somebody was listening to the argument because when I was in the argument, I was in the Thunder Beast booth, and there was a lot of people in the Thunder Beast booth. And there was a core group of the Wyoming hardcore shooters in the Thunder Beast booth when the argument was going on. And they came up to me after, and their laugh was like their takeaway is they were laughing. And they said, I have a lower PRS number than that guy. He was trying to claim rewrite history. They all rewrite history. All of them shot in 2008 when none of them existed. They all rewrite their history and change the date back further than they actually were. Most of them didn't show up until 2016. They all claim 2008, right? They think we're stupid and I didn't know and wasn't around. So a lot of them are Johnny come latelys and don't have the first clue and only know that skinny window of what they see today and not where the history of what they're doing came from, how it came from, who it came from, and why. So yeah, that's a thing. But the Sniper's Hide Cup, we're going handgun, old school events. We're doing it like we used to do it. And I luckily both Jacob and I have our notes from back in the day. And the other thing, like he's saying, that we were going to give preferential treatment to people who reach out to us. Like, great example, Tom Fuller just called. He's like, hey, I want to come. Absolutely, Tom, you're there. And so if I say I want 100 people and 10 people from back in the day would make it 110, I'm going to absolutely move 10 new people out. If Jacob says I only want 100, 10 of you are going. No apology. But yeah, we're going to do an old school cup, old school stages, movement, handgun, all those things that we used to do, all the military centric ones, all the fight with your rifle stuff. You'll probably be out of breath. Most of you don't come off a stage huffing and puffing. You'll probably huff and puff. My favorite is Matt Burkett. Matt Burkett, big 3-gun guy. He's speed demon. Matt was fast. There's a video online of the Sniper's Hide Cup. Matt running a stage. He can't talk to the camera. He's out of breath. That's how it's supposed to be. It should be leaving it all on the stage, right? There should be 3 of those. You should have 3 stages where you have to leave it all on the stage. And it's going to be a scramble. Sure, you can go slow and maybe shoot it smarter and get the hits, but odds are you won't reach the end. And we do that because that's how things used to be. So, for sure, we're doing the 2025 final Sniper's Hide Cup, rifles only, November 8th weekend, 8th week. It's a week long thing at Rifles Only. Wednesday, they do classes. People are there all week, and that's what it was. The Sniper's Hide Cup was a destination. We had people that were coming on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they were doing the train up. Thursday was a day off. We moved everything around. Friday, we started all the activities and started shooting and things. Saturday, Sunday, we ended at noon, 3 o'clock, and then everybody went home from there. And that it was a week long destination, and there were absolutely a minimum of 10 people that were there all week, as many as 25 people there all week. And so that's the kind of interaction we used to have. And you didn't click off. It wasn't like my squad and my guys are done. Let's go hide at this restaurant nobody knows about. My squad and these guys are done. Let's go back to our Airbnb and we'll make up this and talk only to each other. We all stayed in one place until 9:11, right? The responsible people left at 9, the irresponsible ones left 11, and then the ones that are living there never left at all, you know? Yes, I do. That was a great pizza oven. That was those people screwed me so bad. The pizza oven was from the Trigger Time people. So when I did the Trigger Time stuff and those guys screwed me so bad, they stole my mover. Do you know, Jake? They still have my mover and stole it and they still use it around here. They took it, they locked it up and wouldn't let me get it. We've had multiple people contact them. They stole my mover and it's still used in the Colorado area, but Trigger Time took it. But he had an open house, and that vehicle was like owed to him from his open house. Like it rained or something, and they didn't do the second day, and so that was there. But yeah, that pizza oven was cool, dude. That year, I gave away 7 rifles. I was the first match director to give a rifle to a lady shooter. I gave away 7 rifles, and the Okie guys, because I still laugh to this day, Reeves, what is his name? Overall man with the beard, Reeves. He still bitches because Colin Fossen won the 6.5 Creedmoor. He was the top 308, and he was in 59th place. And I gave the top 308 a 6.5 Creedmoor. And so they still complain because a 60th place person got a gun. I gave 7 away. I gave the last person without a DQ a 22 trainer in those years. Like nobody knows their history. Nobody knows what I've done and nobody knows the things and how like I always was the guy that was going to push the envelope. I've had prize yes, we've had more than one prize table, especially rifles only. We had more than one prize table over $250,000. That's how much I like every single competitor in those years got $1,000 worth of like swag. Like just the giveaway stuff was $1,000. That's why I'm the one who did the $300 match fees because I had $1,000 in swag to give back to you. The $300 match fee made it really comfortable to pay everybody and not be a scramble for something. You know, you didn't have the bitching. Like when it was 150, somebody got cut out because there wasn't enough like there was more hours of work than money to pay. So then I had a $250,000 prize table. Everybody was getting $1,000 in swag, period, before you even went to the prize table. And so I made the Sniper's Hide Cup $300. I was the guy that did it. And the only reason was I could. And I felt I was giving back. Today, those prize tables should not be anything over 200. They should be 199 because they're not giving anything back. They're not doing what we used to do. You're not walking away with arms full of swag and they're charging you the same price because now it goes in their pocket and they want to buy a new car. They want a new side by side. They want a new bunch of stuff for their range. So all that extra money doesn't get put back into the event. It's now taken by the people around it, you know? So it should be a match today should be 199. I mean, you could do 99 one days. I mean, 40 is probably better, 50 for a one day, 220s, you know, but 60's fine too. And then it should be 199, 200 to go to a 2 day, you know, because they just don't do what we used to do. It just doesn't come around. And then, the photograph of a box. It's like, "Hey, I got a box." They're not doing any of the things that now people show up because it's fun and it's interactive. But yeah, I know, Jake, and I'm just like I said, I'm not causing any problem with them because I don't feel they have a redeeming value. I think like watching what you do, your Pacific Northwest crew, the Pacific Northwest guys, Jake, who's on right now, Matt Alwine, Pinch, and all those. I don't see Pinch as much, but I know he's there doing stuff behind. Those guys through MDT and Leopold, they're the only ones putting out anything. The MDT and the Leopold corner is the only place you're seeing anything of value, anything to attract, for that. And yet they're all give me, give me, give me, look at me, but what are you giving back? What are you doing to move the needle within the system? I try to move the needle every time. I tried to do like the brawl or it was the shooter's bash. So when we did two matches, we did the cup and we did the brawl. The brawl was experimentation for the cup. The cup was meant to change perceptions. Like, look what they did. To me, the only thing I disliked with the cup near the end at Rifles Only was we were too much helicopter. I didn't like the helicopter. Jacob loved it. And we battled over stuff. But, we're two opinionated guys. And so it was always about a better stage, a better fight with the rifle, more practical use. Where are you going with this? Would you see this in the real world? Or is this something contrived? I never liked contrived. And today I feel it's 90% contrived. And the repetitive nature of it is boring to me. It's bowling. And bowling leagues are popular. Bowling on TV is there every week. We've watched because before some of the NASCAR races, there's been some bowling around it. They're wearing jerseys and they're throwing shit down range, right? It's fucking boring. It's the same thing over and over again. And that's where I feel they are today because nobody was there to go against the grain because of me and I'll take responsibility for it. I upset them so much. They fought so hard to shut down my words. They shut everybody down. You know what I mean? You can't go so far outside the box because they'll rebel. And they've conditioned themselves to say no. It's great. We're not changing anything. And they've gotten so defensive over it. That was the argument. They're defensive. You're making mistakes. Why is your sportsman division overlooking other rifle packages out there? What about a Tika? Great. What about a Tika? What about a Bagara? The Bagara is 2 pounds heavier than the Tika, which just knocked it out of contention. Yet a Bagara is an entry level rifle like a Tika, but you can't show up with your Bagara because it's heavier than your Tika. There's all these little things that they don't understand that, none of their divisions work because they're afterthoughts. They're money making schemes to get Beretta to give them more money. And so when you have a money making scheme rather than a way to improve, then you get the same thing, same as it always was, same as it always was. And granted, Europe makes everything look better. Because as long as you could point to European numbers, the decline in US numbers and the movement to hunter and the movement to other things doesn't appear as bright because Europe's growing. And Europe's just taking that model and going with it because they don't know. And they're, as it is, they get the floor wiped with. the Americans. So for them, they're trying to get to that point. So they're just doing what the Americans are doing and to get to the point. And so that it's that's where all of this is. It's just that repetitive nature. We do what works, and work is subjective. And as long as you can manipulate statistics and numbers and you can say, well, look at that, don't look at this, then things are great. And so, yeah. And so, Final Cup in November, rifles only. It's going to be a heck of a good party. We're going to go away on a high note and just say thanks to everybody. And honestly, getting old, getting gray, getting tired. I'm going to be doing a little bit more of this stuff. It's worth for me to run around and say thank you to people. I mean, 20 years, 24 actually, 24 years of Sniper's Hide. Sniper's Hide, and everything's changed. It's fractured now. Who's on Facebook? Who's on Instagram? Who's on YouTube? Right? It's all these different fiefdoms instead of the forum. And so that creates a dilution in it. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm scaling back what I'm doing, enjoying myself more going to races, enjoying myself more sleeping in, and not being out. Well, I mean, that was tiring out on the range for 6 hours and we're just filming. The videos are doing good. I'm enjoying it. Although I need to hit on what works and what doesn't. Like I did that USMC tent pole video, I thought would be a little bit received different. Either the way I wrote it or filmed it was shitty, or the topic was shitty. But it's like I was like, "Oh, I got a great idea," or "I got a really good one," and then I film it up and put it all together, and it's like, "Ah, that sucked." And then nobody's like, "Wah, wah, wah." So, yeah, so when you get, a few more wah, wah, wahs than wins, then you start to back off. And that's all I'm doing, man. I'm slowing down, backing off. I wanna go play. I don't wanna have to work everywhere, and I don't need to. The site's self-sustaining. The site moves fine. The site's busier than 2014. Everybody looks at that pre-scout as a high point. The 2008 7 was a huge point for competition for us. 7 to 10 was big. Then 11, I left rifles only. By 10, 11, there was drama going on. The divorce was happening. But then, you know, the hide was still moving really, really good until the scout stuff at first. I'm way bigger than those numbers every day. And so everybody remembers like, oh, the hide when it was 400,000, but today it's 800,000. At COVID it was 1.5 million. And so that sustains. And that's what people don't understand when they tried to cancel me. And even the small 300 people who tried to jump ship and say, let's not listen to Frank anymore. It didn't I can see it because 'cause I'll look, but it's like, didn't change anything. It's like, "Oh, there's something different here. Oh, all these guys aren't there no more. Okay." They all got together and they all left. Alright, cool. And it's like, I could see it, but it's funny because it doesn't even really register, and you just notice, "Oh, that person that I used to know, that used to comment or used to see isn't there anymore." And it's like, "Oh, okay, but wait, there's 3 other people replaced them." And that was the history of the hide. There was always somebody who did a forum suicide or did some big display of, I'm leaving. Like you won't be remembered because we're all replaceable. Even, me, and that's where I'm replacing myself. But yeah, it's funny. I see it and you notice it. And that just cracks me up because that's why I advertise. That's why I live. That's why I do this. Because it brings 10 other people that have no clue. It's segmented. But anyway, all right, guys, I've did my hour. I'm gonna go watch the race. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your everyday sniper people. I'm gonna get this podcast up this time so you have it. The lives are where it's at. High TV has the lives. They're sending out the emails and the advertisements. Facebook, we're live. X, we're live. YouTube, we're live. We're live everywhere. You can catch us anywhere. And we're having fun. We do the Chris lives every Wednesday. We will be at J&M Precision. There are some last minutes. I'm leaving the registration up on the Hide. You could see registrations at the type of thehide.tv. How easy is that? Thehide.tv. That's like a great domain, thehide.tv. But thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being part of the Everyday Sniper podcast. Thanks for everybody on the lives. Really great crew of people. You can put questions in. Yeah, yeah, they did. I know that, Jake. Jake's saying how some of them made. Dude, I can see them and they all know what I'm doing. I don't care. I'm fine with any. So, anyways, thanks everybody. Thanks, Jake. I appreciate you and all that stuff and all the work doing. But thanks everyone. Appreciate you soon, and we'll be out of here. So.